So this week we got 3 more episodes of Andor, episodes 4 through 6 of season 2. And while I think that they're overall good episodes, and I'll get into the review a little bit later, I need to talk about a massive issue that I have with this show. And I already had this issue before the show started when the release schedule was announced. I was thinking, you know what? I want to just do separate reviews for all these episodes like I did last week. But last week I already figured this is a lot. This is so much for me to do, and I can't really physically do all of this separately while also having, a job, because this is just a hobby for me. But the thing is, I'm autistic, and I really, really desperately want to make separate reviews, but I can't, because otherwise I just don't have the time for it. I just cannot find the time to make separate reviews, so I need to do all of them at once. I find this really annoying, and this is also an issue that I've had for a couple of years now when it comes to Star Wars releasing episodes every week. When they have a live action show, they drop at 9 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, but that's 3 a.m. for us here in Europe. And I'm just wondering if there are more Europeans like me who also have an issue with that, because I'm not going to wake up at 3 a.m. I don't think anyone is, unless you're extremely dedicated, but you're really sacrificing a lot of sleep with that, I feel. And the thing is, I would actually have to take off work, because in certain cases I would not be able to watch the episodes because I have a different schedule. Like if I had a normal 9 to 5 schedule, it would already be difficult, but I have a different schedule. It changes every week. This week I have my morning shift. I wake up very early, like 4:30 in the morning. So in that case, I would be able to maybe watch 2 episodes of Andor before I need to go, but I definitely won't be able to watch a third. And then I have to go to work, and I can't go onto social media, but I'm on social media all the time. So it's very difficult for me to, avoid spoilers. Then I come home and then I can finally watch it. And yeah, I'm just very annoyed with the fact that they decided to do 3 episodes every week. It's so much content. And, as a reviewer, it's so much content to cover that I need to, make reviews for. So that's why I'm doing one review for all of them now. I find it very annoying. I wish it was not the case. I wish they just do 1 episode every week. And I don't really understand why they're not just doing 1 episode every week, because now it will be over so quickly. And it's so much content to digest every single week for everyone. The thing is, I commented on the Star Wars video that they put out when the first episode dropped last week, the first 3 episodes. Like, yeah, why does this need to drop at 3 a.m.? And then someone replies, oh, but you can watch it at any time. Okay, this is not how the world works. I want to make sure that I can watch all of it instantly so that I am not spoiled, and so that I can work on my review. And that way, I can already start talking to people online. Otherwise, I have to wait for, the entire day that I'm at work. And then after that, only I can get into that. I'm just like, I don't know if this is an issue for other people. I'd like to know. But I'm honestly quite annoyed by the fact that this is happening. Anyway, let's just review the episodes where, we have several storylines going on. I'll just go through them. We see Syril is working undercover on Ghorman, and he's working there, of course, for the ISB. Then Cassian gets sent there on a mission, and when I was like, wait, Cassian is here, Syril should be here, but Syril then goes to Coruscant. They just missed each other. I really was curious what was going to happen if Cassian and Syril met again, saw each other again or something. That would have been an interesting reunion, to say the least. But yeah, Syril goes back to Coruscant, where he meets Dedra for an hour, and they turn off the lights. Now, these two are such a weird relationship, and I am very curious, did they do it? Are they trying to have a baby? And are we going to see like a 3-month-old toddler in the next episode? Because that's what happened here. It would be so funny to see that. Like, as I already mentioned last week, this is one of my favorite storylines because it's just very funny. these two, but it's a weird situation. It's really funny to watch. What isn't so funny is Bix in this episode. She is still clearly very traumatized by Gorst. She's starting to take drugs just to hopefully not think about Gorst, and also not think about the fact that Cassian is on a mission and she doesn't know what Cassian is doing. But Bix is looking very, very rough. I was very glad, though, that at the end of the episodes, Bix was able to take revenge on Gorst, because Gorst honestly deserves it. Also, it was kind of in the nick of time, because the ISB is talking about expanding that program, but this way, hopefully, they just blew up the entire thing, and this is never going to continue, this torture, because, yeah, it's harsh. We do not want to see that. I found it quite satisfying that we just got rid of him and it's hopefully done. I'm curious to see if in the next couple of episodes Bix is still having nightmares or not. But yeah, we'll see about that next week. But Cassian's mission was to go to Ghorman and check on the rebels, check on the activity, see if it was even worth the time, really. Like, Luthen just wanted an assessment, which is a bit of a different mission, because in general, Cassian has to get his hands dirty, maybe kill some people, and he's fine with that. But in this case, he just needed to go to Ghorman, be, this fashion designer, and then talk to the rebels, which was a bit unorthodox. I did enjoy essentially the spy aspect of it. It definitely reminded me a little bit of like some of the spy movies that I enjoy, like Mission Impossible or James Bond. I found it funny, and I also found it funny that Cassian at the end is just like, no, let's just go. Like, okay, a bit of an unorthodox outcome, but in the end, it makes sure that, of course, Cassian is not anywhere close to Ghorman when it all goes down. Who is going to be close to Ghorman is Vel and also Cinta. Vel wanted Cinta there, and I found it a nice parallel to the Aldani heist, which is also episodes 4 through 6, but in season 1, because, well, Vel and Cinta are essentially trying to help some rebels go against the Empire. In that regard, I found it quite similar. The difference, though, is that the rebels on Aldani were trained very well. Of course, they were there for 5 months. Cassian joined in late, but Cassian picked up the pieces very quickly, and he was like ready to go. But these rebels, they are very unorganized. By the way, I do want to shout out, they created a completely new language, which sounds quite European. It kind of sounds like a mix between French and German. I will say it doesn't sound like Dutch, even though Dutch is kind of a mix between French and German. But it was interesting to see that, this had a very World War II vibe for me over on Ghorman with the rebels. It was also interesting that this actor is played by someone who played a Nazi in Inglourious Basterds. So I was like, okay, it's an interesting parallel. I don't know if anyone else really noticed that, but I found it interesting because I really adore Inglourious Basterds. It's a movie that I've seen several times. So, yeah, that was that. But, yeah, the rebels on Ghorman are not the most organized bunch, and, well, Vel and Cinta see that, because eventually it all goes to shit and Cinta dies. And I had the feeling that someone would die in this episode, and I have the feeling that we're going to see a lot more deaths in the next couple of episodes, like actual known character deaths, because as far as I'm concerned, if they're not in Rogue One, they are probably going to die, because they need to essentially be out of the picture before Rogue One starts. And also considering, that in Rogue One everyone dies, Tony Gilroy doesn't have an issue with killing off characters. It would otherwise kind of go against the pre-established thing, which is actually kind of something I appreciated with Rogue One, that essentially all the characters die, and that is why we don't see them in the original trilogy. And I think we're going to have the same here, that pretty much all the known characters that are not in Rogue One, they die because they're not in the movie. Actually, the only character who's not going to die even until after the original trilogy is Mon Mothma. She is trying to gain votes from fellow senators, but is not really getting far, so she's losing her patience with the Empire, and you can see the cracks. You can really see them. So yeah, Mon will get to that point in the next episode where she will go against the Empire, renounce the Emperor, as I already talked about in one of my shorts about, potential of seeing live action Rebels, because the next episodes are going to take place 2 years before the Battle of Yavin, which is the same time as season 3 of Rebels, which is the same time where Mon Mothma appears in Rebels. And I'm very curious if we're going to see some kind of a crossover between Rebels and Andor in the next arc or the arc after that, because I feel we could, and it would be cool. Of course, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, but it would be cool. What I did find weird, though, is Mon Mothma and Perrin, they go to a party, and they quickly bump into Bail Organa, but he's not played by Jimmy Smits. And to me, Bail Organa is Jimmy Smits. I've known him ever since I first saw Attack of the Clones, and then, of course, in Revenge of the Sith, and then he also appears in Rogue One, and I'm like, Jimmy Smits, my dude, what the hell are you doing instead of appearing in Andor? Because what does he really have going on? To be fair, I'm not really sure. But Andor was even pushed. Like, they started production on this already, like, in 2022, and we are only getting it 3 years after the fact. I think you had plenty of time to shoot scenes with Jimmy Smits as Bail Organa, but no, we're getting Benjamin Bratt. Now, nothing against Benjamin Bratt, honestly. I think he's a fine actor, and I think he actually kind of looks similar. There's at least something there, so I'm curious to see his take. It's just, where the hell is Jimmy Smits, honestly? Anyway, the final storyline that I wanted to talk about is that Wilmon joined Saw's partisans, and they're on the planet Dakar, where the Resistance base is in The Force Awakens. I thought that was a nice connection. Once again, Andor shows that they're able to, connect the universe without it feeling forced. Like, this makes sense to me, that essentially there's this planet that is available to the Resistance when they need it. And Saw is absolutely losing it. Like, of course he is. He is crazy. He admits it as much at the end of the second episode. But yeah, no, dude is absolutely insane. And I found it a very radical move from Wilmon, but it kind of makes sense. Like, it just shows over the past 2 years, Wilmon has grown really fed up with all the shit that it's been happening around him, and he wants to take action. And well, Saw's partisans are definitely going to take action. Very radical, very crazy, but they will take action. So I suppose that's what he wants. I am curious, though, if he's still in contact with Cassian, and if at any point he's going to meet with him or something, because they talk about it in Rogue One that Saw had a falling out with the rebellion, and we also see that a little bit in Rebel Season 4. And I'm curious if we're going to see exactly what happened, what caused that falling out between them. So I'm curious to see about that next week. In the end, I found this a solid 3 episodes of Andor. Like, it follows pretty much the same structure as the other arcs, where, the first episode is the setup, the second episode introduces some conflict, and then the third episode is where it goes to shit. The only issue that I really have, and this might just be because of the fact that I'm getting a bit fed up with these episodes all dropping at once, is that at the end of the third episode, I felt it was a bit anticlimactic, like a bit underwhelming. Like, usually the third episode has like a big action set piece taking place, and all is going to hell and whatnot. And I felt it was somewhat subdued. Like, yeah, okay, we still had Syntha dying, and there was a bit of a tense scene with, Clea trying to remove the listening device. But I still felt that all of that was not really all that climactic. Now, sure, we are probably going to get another arc next week dealing with the Ghorman thing, so we can't just have it happen here. But, yeah, not the biggest fan of this arc. Still good, but just not the biggest fan. But now I just wonder, what are your thoughts on these episodes? Did you also have some issues like I did, or do you disagree with me and you're like, no, these episodes were great? Please let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Now, this weekend, I am going to do a Revenge of the Sith Supercut watch-along. That's at least how I call it. It's essentially my version of Revenge of the Sith edited together with the Clone Wars episodes, the final arc, because I really enjoy that version that I made. It's a very long version. I have several people joining me. It's going to be a lot of fun, I feel. So check out the announcement video right here. And also, while you're here, please subscribe to my channel. Click right here to do that. More reviews for Andor on the way next week. So that's going to be fun, I think. But until then, may the Force be with you.